Welcome, friends. Welcome to NMBF Coffee Chats, the usual place to gather once a week or sometimes twice a week, where we discuss topics and subjects that are unique, that are interesting, and that are sometimes not really covered in the church. Now, one of the things we've been trying to do here is, whenever possible, come together and discuss movies because we believe movies are a very powerful medium of influence. They can really influence people's mind and thinking. And while some are very skeptical about the negative influence, but there can also be very positive influence of it. And one of the things I personally have discovered something called the Christian review of movies, which in as a seminary student, Seva used to invite us to his place, and we used to do this, few of us friends, and it was quite amazing the insights and all that we would get. And since movies actually come from life, or in some ways reflect life, they can really be a beautiful parable if we try to understand them or look at them, and analyze the good and the bad, and try to even search for hidden gems that actually can sometimes be biblical truth conveyed out there. So I really want to thank God for this opportunity. We have Seva Gaddala, who is a freelance writer and aspiring screenwriter. He's a former journalist who used to write movies and music reviews for Indo-Asian News Service. And so Seva will be leading us today in this Oscars preview and of some nominees of this year, nominees, and then some movies of the past too. And then we'll have a free discussion after he finishes speaking for a short length of time. Okay, over to Seva.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm really glad we're doing a discussion about the Oscars, okay? Because this is very personal to me. I love the Oscars. I think I've been watching the Oscar ceremony maybe every year since I was 13 years old, since 1990, right? And I think I might have missed only like once or twice ever in my life. So it's more like a ritual for me because I love movies. So I'm really glad that we're doing this one because it's a personal favorite of mine. Um, when I was young, I mean, my dad and my whole family went to the States and we were there for 6 years. My dad was doing his PhD in a seminary in Fort Worth. And I would go to the library and I would just find these books about movies and just devour them. And there was this one almanac which had like all the previous Oscar winners and all the nominees for Best Picture and like a description of those movies, right? So I should just read those. And I think that's where my passion began. And so for this year, I think Abhijit and I were discussing about how to do this. And actually, we had thought of doing it on one movie. We're thinking of the movie One Battle After Another. I don't know how many of you have watched it, but that was like one of the biggest movies of this past year. And then I wasn't very sure if everybody had watched the movie. So I was a little bit like, confused about that. So then I decided to do this idea about having a discussion about the Oscar preview, like about at least the top five nominees to like discuss about them, and also have a very free-willing discussion about the previous winners, right? So for the discussion time, I would want people to just like talk about any of their favorite Oscar-winning movies from the past, like if they remember, it can be a very general discussion. So that was my intention, and so before going into the actual discussion about movies and Christian themes, I wanted to give just a brief background about Oscar-winning movies, right? And Oscar-winning movies, they tend to be different, and there are also certain kind of movies that usually win the Oscars. Now, every year Hollywood makes a lot of popular movies, a lot of action movies, a lot of comedies, and they're very popular, but they're not the ones that become selected for Best Picture. So Oscar-winning movies, there's no one word to describe them. Maybe the best phrase that I can use is these movies which have a cultural impact. So then they tend to be dramas, they tend to be serious, they tend to tackle important serious issues. And they tend to be critically acclaimed. right? So these are the kind of movies that usually get nominated for awards, for Oscar awards, and even win. So, and the other type is historical dramas. They tend to be the ones which get nominated the most. So the best example of these are Schindler's List, The King's Speech, 12 Years a Slave, and recently Oppenheimer. So these already have gravitas. They already have this weight about them. They're very serious. So they tend to be more nominated. These historical dramas. The other types are the obvious one, which the movies about social issues. And these movies, examples of these movies are Spotlight, which was in 2015, Parasite, which is the only non-English movie ever to win Best Picture, and Moonlight, which came out in 2016. So these movies address social issues, so they tend to be more nominated, and they tend to get more recognition from the Academy Awards. And then the other type of movies that usually get more nominated are these epic, large scale dramas, like Gladiator, Lord of the Rings, Titanic, and Braveheart. These are epic, they're grand, they're pure Hollywood at their best. So even these kind of movies tend to get recognized a lot. And then, interestingly, the other type is the movies which are about movies, the movies about Hollywood, the movies about the entertainment industry, the movies about the arts. And there was a brief span in the first 5 years from 2010 to 15, where there was The Artist, Argo, and Birdman. These were all movies about entertainment. So they were getting a lot of recognition at that time. Okay. So, and there are also certain kind of movies that do not get nominated, that tend to be ignored. And there's a huge discussion about that. There's a controversy about that. And the Academy is trying to change that a little bit. So the kind of movies that get ignored are usually pure horror movies, the horror genre, comedy, action and blockbusters, fantasy, sci-fi movies, and romantic comedies. These are the more popular ones. They're more simple. They're not very serious. They're not very hefty. They don't have the gravitas. So they tend to be ignored. Of course, few of these movies do make it, but they're rare. So like Four Weddings and a Funeral, those kind of movies, which was a comedy or a rom-com in 1994. So those are pretty rare, right? So this is a little bit background about what kind of movies get nominated. So now let's talk about this year's nominees. And the nominations were announced on Jan 22nd, my birthday. So I was very happy that day. And the awards will be on March 15th. So it'll be like 16th morning for us. It'll be a Monday morning. It'll be Sunday night in the States. So till then, there'll be a big awards push, and there are even other awards that have already happened. So we have a really good idea of what movies are picking up steam as they head towards the Oscars. And we have a really good idea of what movies might win on that day. So let me just list the nominees for Best Picture. And there are 10 movies, but we'll discuss only 3 or 4, because these 3 or 4 movies are the ones that I think will make the most noise. So we'll discuss only those movies. But let me just list out the 10 movies which got nominated. They are One Battle After Another, Sinners, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, Frankenstein, Begonia, F1, Sentimental Value, Train Dreams, and The Secret Agent. So I don't know how many of you have watched any of those movies. I know for a fact that Sinners is playing on Geo Hotstar, and One Battle After Another is going to drop on Geo Hotstar on 26th. So try catch that. And F1, the movie about this car racing thing, is on Apple, and Frankenstein and Train Dreams is playing on Netflix. So if anybody's interested, you can check that out. I think most of you might remember a time when these Best Picture nominees used to be 5 in the olden days. It was recently that they moved to 10 or up to 10. And, and the main reason for that is Slumdog Millionaire, our Indian movie, which won in 2008. So a lot of people were upset that, not that Slumdog Millionaire won, but they were upset that The Dark Knight was not nominated that year. That was a movie which is part 2 of the Batman trilogy by Christopher Nolan. And that movie was critically acclaimed and commercially successful. Many people liked it, but it wasn't nominated. So the Academy took that into notice, and they decided to increase the number of nominees up to 10, just to so that they can include more commercial and more popular movies, right? So these are the 10 movies that are nominated. Now, like I said, we'll discuss only about 3 or 4 of these movies. And the biggest movie of this year, and I think this movie will win Best Picture most likely, is One Battle After Another. Now, this movie is directed by this guy called Paul Thomas Anderson. He's not a very popular guy, but among this movie community, the cinephiles and these independent filmmakers or whatever, and I've been following him for a long time, we love him. He's made movies like There Will Be Blood, Magnolia, The Phantom Thread, Licorice Pizza. So that movie will most likely win. Now, let me just also tell you briefly about what the movie is about, and then discuss the themes, right? So this movie is about this white man and this black woman, and they're radicals, they're revolutionaries, and they go about like causing violence, and so they're basically uh, they're against this whole like this immigration. I mean, they're for immigration, so they're against this government's role in trying to tamp down immigration at the border. So, and it's very interesting because this movie, we do not know what year or what era it is set in. We can only guess that it might be during the Obama years. So, this movie is about this white man, DiCaprio, and this black woman. They are in this group together. They fall in love, but this black woman has a tryst with this racist army guy, and then this black woman and this white guy DiCaprio, they're together, and she gives birth to a child, and the child is half black, half white. And then this army guy, he finds out that this woman has given birth, and he thinks that this daughter might be his, and he wants to join a organization, and it's a racist organization. It's like white supremacist. So he wants to join them, and he's scared that if they find out about his black child, that they may not allow him to join the organization. So he tries to find this girl and kill her. So the whole movie, almost like 1 hour of the movie, is just about this army guy, this racist guy, trying to find his daughter and try to kill her. And this DiCaprio character, who's her father, he has to save her. So the movie is more about that. Now, this movie is a little bit controversial because of this whole political layer to it. The conservatives are angry because they're saying that, oh, it's being anti-Trump, and it's being this anti-supremacist. So it's like a indirect dig at the Trump administration. So they're saying that. And the liberals are saying, oh no, this movie is too vague. It's not like clear enough, and it's not in your face enough. So that is a political clash, but I'm not interested in that. I want to focus more on the movie, and this is a really well made movie. This whole movie is like just one long chase. It's very propulsive. It has forward momentum, and it's just the pacing is really good. It's fun. It's funny, and the DiCaprio character, he's not heroic. He's a bumbling fool. He's not this macho guy like Taken, trying to save his daughter. He's a druggie, and he's like half the time his mind is like baked. So it's about that. And like I said before, even about Avatar, the main theme is, end of the day, it's about family. It's about this man trying to save his daughter against this other man who's trying to kill his daughter. So that's what makes the movie really good. So that's one battle after another. Keep this in mind. I think it will win Best Picture and maybe also Best Director. So let's look forward to that. The second movie I want to talk about is a movie called Sinners, which is playing in Jio Hotstar. This was an amazing movie, and this movie has already created history by being the most nominated movie. It has got 16 nominations, which is the most ever in the history of movies. And I really do think this movie is that good. And it is also controversial. So the movie is basically about, it's set in the 1920s, where racism was still very prevalent in the South, in the States. These two brothers, they're twins. They come back from Chicago, and they go to South, their hometown, and they want to open a juke joint, this like music hall and restaurant where they can have food. and the whole movie takes place in one day. And so they open this joint, and then but then they are attacked by these vampires. This movie is actually a horror movie. It's a very rare to see a really well-made horror movie. And these vampires come, and then they have a battle. So these black guys, these brothers, against the vampires. Now, the amazing thing about this movie is the whole movie is an allegory. It uses a lot of symbolism. And I don't know how many of you have heard this term called cultural appropriation. So this movie is about that. There's a lot of talk about cultural appropriation in the States. There's this thing where blacks have been creating culture from a long time. If you look at rock, if you look at music, blues, gospel, folk, country, these old forms of music which became the foundation for modern music like rock and rap. So what happened was all these blacks, they were making this art and music in movies in the past, and they were taken by the white people, sanitized, and made more appealing to the white community, and they made it famous. So the whole movie is about that. It's about how these white people, these vampires, want to kidnap this black guy. There's one black guy who's a guitarist, amazing blues guitarist. They want his music, and how these blacks have to fight that. So I thought that was excellent. Just the use of allegory and symbolism. But I mean, as I tell you, it sounds very boring. It sounds technical, but it's not. It's a fun action movie, very cinematic, great acting, and just the best music ever. It has the greatest music. So it's a fun movie. And it has a showdown where it's, they kill the vampires and all that. So now there's this thing where everybody's afraid that even though this movie has received the most nominations ever, it might win very few. There have been times in the past where a movie got like 7 nominations, like The Color Purple, but it won 0 awards. So even that might happen. So they're a bit scared of that, right? So look out for this movie also, Sinners. It should win a few awards. The third movie I want to talk about is this movie called Hamnet. And oh, this movie is the most emotional movie. This movie was the one that almost made me cry. And there are some people who said that it is too emotional and it's like manipulative and simply they focus on the grief or whatever. So this movie is based on a book and it is about William Shakespeare, but it is fictionalized. It's not a true story. The author imagined Shakespeare, his life, and then his wife. So this movie is about Shakespeare's son, whose name was Hamnet. And in those days, the name Hamnet and Hamlet was interchangeable. Both spellings were the same. So this story is about William Shakespeare and his wife. They have a family, and they have a son, and he dies. And this death is very tragic to them, and it hits them really hard. And the movie is about how the mother, who stays back in Avon, and then Shakespeare, who goes to London because he's like a playwright and he works over there. It's about how they both deal with this grief differently. And then in the end, they show us how Shakespeare uses his son's death to inspire him, and he draws from that grief to write the play Hamlet, which is one of the greatest plays of all time. Right. So the theme of this movie is how we can use creativity to deal with grief. It's a beautiful movie. And it's very emotional. I think this movie, of all the nominees, this movie has the most heart. So one category I think this movie will definitely win is actress. Her name is Jessie Buckley. She's already won quite a few awards for Best Actress till now, and I think she will most likely win Best Actress for this movie called Hamnet. It's not, I don't know where it's playing yet, but it might come on Geo Hotstar later, right? And the fourth one that I want to talk about is Marty Supreme. This movie is a little bit weird. It's a little bit strange. It's a bit eccentric. It's starring Timothée Chalamet. Now, please remember this name, Timothée Chalamet. This guy is going to be big. He's one of only 3 people ever to receive 3 acting nominations for Best Actor before the age of 30. The guy is barely 30. So he's going to be big, and he might win for Best Actor for this movie. So this movie is about this real-life table tennis player in the States in the 1950s. And this was a time where table tennis was not very famous. Nobody cared about it. But he's very driven, and he's very ambitious. And the whole movie is about how he wants to become the greatest table tennis player ever. He's arrogant, he's overconfident, he's cocky, but he has this amazing drive. And there are times where he does things which are very questionable, you know. So while watching the movie, we might be like, you know what, I don't agree with all the things that this guy does, but we admire his drive. So the theme of the movie is ambition is good, but there's more to life than just ambition, and there's more to life than just being the best in something, right? So this movie, I don't know how many awards it will win, but I think for best actor it might win. So these are the four movies that will be most mentioned during the awards. So just keep them in mind, right? The next thing I want to talk about is India at the Oscars because we're Indians, and this is one of the saddest things about my life as an Indian movie fan, because there have been only three movies ever to have three Indian Bollywood movies to get the Best Picture nomination for the Best Foreign Film. There's a Best Picture category and a Best Separate Foreign Film category. The first one was Mother India in 1957. Second one was Salam Bombay, made 1988. Salam Bombay, by the way, was made by Meera Nair, who is the mother of the mayor of New York, Zara Mamdani. So she's his mom. So she made Salam Bombay. The third movie was Lagan in 2001. So these are the only three Indian movies to ever win, to ever get nominated, not even win, for best foreign language film. Now there have been Indians who won the Oscar. A.R. Rahman won for Slumdog Millionaire, and there have been other people like the costume designer for Gandhi. There's a guy who won for sound mixing for Slumdog Millionaire. There was a recent movie which won for best documentary short feature, The Elephant Whisperer. That was made in India. So Indians have won a few awards, and more recently, Triple R won for best song. So Indians have won here and there, but they have not won. But no Bollywood movie has won. Now, um, there have been movies set in India about India which have won. Gandhi and Slumdog Millionaire. Gandhi was in '82, and Slumdog Millionaire was in 2008. So these movies have won. They're set in India, and they won, but they're not made by Indians, right? Now, the last category that I want to speak about before we go to discussion is Christian movies. Now, Christian movies also very few, very few. Actually, there are only two, I think, which are Christian themed movies which have won the Oscar for Best Picture. One is Ben Hur, which I think most of us have watched in 1959, and the other one was Chariots of Fire in 1982. Sorry, in 81. And out of these, I think Chariots of Fire is the most explicitly Christian movie to win Best Picture. And I love this movie. It's a very small movie. It's about this Eric Liddell. It's a true story about the Scottish runner. He wins in the Olympics and he has a conviction that he will not run on Sundays. And in the Olympics, his race is supposed to be on a Sunday. And he says, no, I will not run. So they find a way to make him not run on Sunday. And then he wins, right? But this movie did not win just because of his convictions. It was about even underdog. He was an underdog. He was this normal guy, not a great flashy guy, and then he wins the race. And other thing about this movie that I loved was it showed this guy being passionate about running. So I learned that when God gives us a gift, a talent, we are the most joyful and we are the most happy when we're using that gift for his service. And there's this beautiful line where this Eric Liddell, who wins the gold medal, he says to his sister, he says, when I run, I feel God's passion, right? And that's a beautiful line. So it's just whatever gift He has given us, let's use it for His glory, right? So this is my talk for today concerning Oscar and Oscar-winning movies or whatever. So if anybody has any other Oscar movies that they remember, that they liked, that they want to talk about, let's do that right now. Abhijit, we can't hear you.
Yeah, thank you, Seva, for an amazing way you breeze through so much of Oscar, from the way movies are featured, which movies tend to make it, and then talking about the nominees that are there, and also some Christian movies. Yeah. So I think what we can do now is we'll cut this section and